Hey friend, Chris here from Logic Pro Rules. Let me ask you, have you ever loaded Mastering Assistant into your project, and once it completes its analysis of the section or the entire song, it spits out this crazy looking EQ curve that leaves you feeling like, man, did I mess up the mix here? Did I mess up my project? Well, I felt the same way. I've loaded Mastering Assistant into a project, it spits out an EQ curve, and then I kind of spiral into trying to figure out why did it do the things it did, and do I need to improve my mix? You're not alone here, and so I decided to test Mastering Assistant on some of the included professional demo projects that come with Logic Pro through the years. And here's what I found. Let's dig into it. In case you didn't know, for years now, Apple has provided demo projects from big name artists that have been included with Logic Pro. And periodically, when Logic Pro is updated, one big name demo project is swapped out for another. So in this video, I'm going to show you what Mastering Assistant is going to do to 3 big name artist mixes that have been included with Logic Pro through the years. That includes Beck's Colors, Billie Eilish, Ocean Eyes, and Lil Nas X, Montero. So you might not have these exact same projects in your version of Logic Pro today, but the idea still applies, and feel free to try this out on the demo project you have with your version of Logic Pro. Okay, so the Beck Colors project is stacked with tons of tracks, tons of instruments. If I just expand these track stacks, there is a lot going on here, 135 tracks included. They definitely threw the kitchen sink at this song, but I love the sound of this song. Let me play for you the intro going into the verse, and then we'll play a little of the chorus. Here we go. I mean, that sounds amazing to me. And if we go to the chorus here, I'll play a small snippet. As I said, this is a stacked production. It sounds amazing in my opinion. I think it really delivers in all categories. It's very exciting. There's all sorts of crazy stuff going on that catches your attention. I think tonally, it feels really good. I love the little guitar riff leaning to the right. It's so quirky, it's so weird, and yet I think it sounds perfect in this song. And just as a reminder, the demo projects are, of course, Logic plugins only. So you can explore these projects and glean insights, new ideas for your own productions. And in fact, I have a video that I posted a couple weeks ago where I demonstrate the mixing tips that I picked up from the demo projects and patches, so you can check that out in the description below. The thing to keep in mind here is that Mastering Assistant is serving as the mastering engineer. It's the objective perspective on how the mix could be improved upon, how to adjust it so it's tonally balanced, dynamically balanced, and balanced from left to right. Anytime you work with Mastering Assistant or a mastering engineer or something serving as the mastering engineer, you have to make sure to leave some headroom. And if we take a look at the meter here on the stereo output, when I pressed play during the chorus section, this track is maxed out at 0 dB. And you can see on the reduction meter for the limiter that even at 0 dB, this track has 8 decibels of reduction going on. So this track is going to overshoot 0 dB and clip if I disable the limiter. Okay, so we need to turn down the track. That's the point here. We need to turn down the track before I apply Mastering Assistant. To do that, I could load a gain plugin. And let's just turn it down till we see, I would say that the meters are bouncing between -3 and below. I think that's a safe bet. That should probably be enough headroom, about 4 dB. All right, now it's time to apply Mastering Assistant. Now, Mastering Assistant can analyze either the entire production from beginning to end, or you can use the cycle range and tell Mastering Assistant to analyze just a section of your project. Now, personally, I think the thing that makes the most sense is to have Mastering Assistant analyze the entire project from beginning to end, because a lot can happen from bar one and the last bar. And in my thinking, a mastering engineer is not going to listen to just one section of your song or like a 20-second section. They're going to apply processing based on the context of the entire song. So I'm going to leave the cycle range turned off and load Mastering Assistant. And this way, Mastering Assistant will decide how to process this song based on the entire song. All right, I've loaded the plugin. It's now going to analyze the song from beginning to end. And let's see what kind of EQ curve it spits out. All right, this is interesting. We have a boost right around 40, 50 hertz here by about 2 or 3 decibels. Right here from 300 to 700 hertz is a cut, and then a pretty significant cut right around 5 to 10K. And this cut spans from 2000 hertz to 10,000 hertz. So the question is does Mastering Assistant improve on this Beck production? I'm going to enable loudness compensation. So when I bypass and reintroduce Mastering Assistant as we listen, we shouldn't hear any sort of level boost or cut. We should just hear the change in tonality and dynamics. Take a listen. Okay, so what's your take? Honestly, I'm not sure if I think Mastering Assistant was required. I don't know if it actually improves the mix. I already thought this track sounded amazing. And yet with this professional track that was professionally performed and recorded, edited, mixed, Mastering Assistant still felt it was necessary to apply this EQ curve. All right, next up we have the Billie Eilish Ocean Eyes demo project. And we're just going to go through the exact same process. I'm not going to touch or adjust any aspect of this project. We're just going to listen to the chorus here to get a sense for how this track sounds. In this case, the Billie Eilish track is much more minimal, right? I mean, there's plenty of tracks, but not to the same degree as that Beck project. It's not as bombastic, not as loud. It's a much more chill song. And again, I think this track sounds awesome. I love the sound of the vocal stacks. I love the sound of the low end. I like the space in the track. And you saw on the adaptive limiter that the reduction was about 3 decibels. So that means even with the adaptive limiter turned off, this project will clip without the limiter. 1.6 at this moment. If I played the whole chorus, it would overshoot by at least 3 decibels. So again, we're going to apply a gain plugin and reduce the gain so we have some headroom for the mastering processor. That's probably good enough. All right, let's apply Mastering Assistant to the Billie Eilish track. All right, this is a crazy curve, right? Look at that. We have a major cut at 50 to a little above 100 hertz, maybe 200 hertz. Then another major cut from, 200, 250 hertz past 700 hertz. So let's say 1,000 hertz. And then a boost from 1,000 to about 6, 7, 8K. That's aggressive, right? And let's be clear here, like Billie Eilish and her brother Phineas have been darlings of the music industry for just the amazing songs that they create, the sounds that they come up with. In this project, we just discussed how it sounds awesome as is, and yet Mastering Assistant is doing some crazy stuff here. In my opinion, crazy. Let's take a listen to the chorus, and I'll make sure to compensate for loudness, and I will bypass as we listen so we can hear the before and after back to back. Again, I don't really think this is necessary, and for this project, I don't like what Mastering Assistant is doing to the vocals in particular. I think the vocals are starting to sound a little grating to the ear, and I really liked how warm and just how soothing Billie's voice sounded in this project. And also, it kind of confuses the matter when I bypass Mastering Assistant because you hear the low end kind of come back because this cut, basically 50 hertz to right above 700 hertz, all that warmth in the low end suddenly returns, and then you're left with this feeling of like, oh, maybe this project was kind of muddy sounding. Maybe there was too much low end. I don't buy that. And I want to be super clear here. I think Mastering Assistant is awesome. I think it's a great tool, but for this project, I'm not buying it. I don't think this processing here is necessary. For this final example, I want to play for you the Lil Nas X demo project that came with Logic Pro a couple years ago of the song Montero. This project is also stacked with tracks similar to the Beck project. You can see right here 137. If I expand, all the way at the bottom, we have 139 tracks in this project. And yet Montero doesn't sound as full as the Beck project. It seems like there's a little more space in the production. Take a listen to this chorus.
Call me when you want, call me when you need, call me in the morning, I'll be on the way. Call me when you want, call me when you need, call me out by your name, I'll be on the way. Like, call me by your name, tell me you love me in private, call me by your name, I do not care if you're lying.
Definitely an energetic song, but not as wall of sound as the Beck Colors project. And we have two limiters on the stereo output. These are both processing the entire project as one. The limiter, we saw a reduction of 3.7. The adaptive limiter here, let's take a look and a listen.
Call me when you want, call me when you need, call me in the call me by your name, tell me you love me in private, call me by.
All right, so it's knocking back almost 8 dB. Let's bypass and we can take a look and a listen at the meter here.
Call me by your name, tell me you love me in private, call me by your name, I do not care if you're lying.
Interestingly, this project is not clipping the stereo output when I bypass the limiters, but it is at negative 0.2 on the peak meter. That's cutting it kind of close. So let's introduce a gain plugin again and just back it off a hair.
Call me by your name, tell me you love me in private, call me by your name, I do not care if you.
All right, I think that'll be fine. Once again, let's load Mastering Assistant. Interesting. Look at this EQ curve. Incredibly different as compared to the last two examples. Right, so I gushed about the Beck project and how much I love the sound of that project, and yet Mastering Assistant felt it had to apply some pretty significant nips and tucks to even out the tonal balance for that Billie Eilish track, which I feel like just about everybody would think that track sounds awesome. Mastering Assistant was heavy-handed with the EQ adjustments, yet with this Lil Nas X project, Mastering Assistant doesn't really feel like it needs to do very much. I mean, we have some little nips and tucks from 50 hertz to about 700 hertz that are cutting, but just little bits here and there. And then a little bit of boost from 700 hertz to above 5K. I would say these nips and tucks are like 1 to 2 dB at most. Let's take a listen before and after.
Call me when you want, call me when you need, call me in the morning, I'll be on the way. Call me when you want, call me when you need, call me out by your name, I'll be on the way. Like, call me by your name, tell me you love me in private, call me by your name, I do not care if you're lying.
This is such an interesting example because, number one, I think Mastering Assistant is improving on this Lil Nas X project. I do think these little nips and tucks, these little cuts, these little boosts are improving the sound of the project. I just really dig the increased presence and articulation thanks to these slight boosts in the mid-range. And number 2, what I find so interesting is that Mastering Assistant felt like it had to do not much of anything to this track. And yet, of the 3 examples I showed you, I'm going to be honest, I really dig this song, Montero, but the mix of this demo project, I'm not super impressed by as compared to the other 2. And I'm not trying to knock anybody at Apple. I'm not trying to knock, whatever engineer was involved in mixing this project for this demo project, but I just don't love the sound of the mix as a whole. Awesome arrangement, awesome instrumentation, awesome sounds in the project. It's just so interesting, the comparison between these 3 examples. So what does this tell us? Well, first, I think you should take comfort in the fact that even with these professional productions, right? These are pro artists with pro teams working with them to create awesome sounding music. In every case, Mastering Assistant felt it necessary to apply some degree of processing, which is interesting, right? And I don't think Mastering Assistant is basing its decision on how to master your track or these tracks based on the subjective intent of the song and the interesting sounds that are in the song. It's just looking at the tonality and the dynamics and the imaging, and it's comparing that against hundreds, thousands, maybe tens of thousands of examples that it's been trained on, right? It's just saying, here's the average, and this track needs to meet the average, even if the track is not average. That's an interesting idea. And if you talk to mastering engineers, oftentimes they'll say that sometimes the best thing for a song when they're mastering is to not do anything, no EQ. And yet every project I've tested Mastering Assistant on, whether it be my own projects, demo projects, etc., it always feels necessary to apply some sort of EQ. So that's interesting. There's kind of like this lack of subjectiveness that actually is important, not to be totally objective, but a little bit of subjectiveness based on the context of this song, this project, this moment in time. So I think the thing I want to leave you on is not to think Mastering Assistant stinks, it's not valuable to your projects. I think Mastering Assistant is awesome. I love having this second perspective on my mixes, but don't take it completely to heart. Don't take it as the gospel, and don't spiral when you see something crazy pop up on screen and then wonder, what's going on here? I messed up. How do I fix it? Maybe you didn't. Maybe Mastering Assistant is good for a double check, but it's not 100% correct all of the time. So I'd love to know in the comments below your experiences with Mastering Assistant. Has it led you to make better mixing and processing decisions based on the EQ curve that pops up? Or has it caused you to chase your tail and just kind of lose your mind trying to figure out how to please this machine that's trying to master your track, right? Or do you love using it as is or not at all? I love to know, so let me know in the comments below, and I'll talk to you later. Take care.